You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.
Join us now for the expert source for inside information on the options markets. It's time for Options Insider Radio with your host, Mark Longo.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to Options Insider Radio, the interview program here on the old network where we welcome on guests from throughout the world of options and derivatives and indeed beyond and proceed to pick their brains for the benefit of you, the listener. My name is Mark Longo, coming at you, of course, from the aforementioned network as well as from theoptionsinsider.com. Reminding you, if you like what you hear, not just for the interviews, but for the entire network, make sure you head on out to wherever you listen to our content. Could be Apple Podcasts, could be Spotify, app stores. You get our app. Wherever you get our content, make sure you leave those reviews so new folks can continue to discover this program. We've seen an onrush of new listeners over the last 6 months. We want to keep that flow going. It's more important than ever in these troubled times for people to have a reliable source of financial content out there. So if you like what you hear, keep those reviews coming so new folks can continue to discover the network that you're already enjoying. And, of course, keep those questions, those comments, maybe those interview guest suggestions coming. We do love to hear from you guys out there. And let's see who we're going to hear from on the program today. Joining me today on our Interview Tuesday for Options Insider Radio, old friend of the network, he's Mr. Mead Wells. He's the co-founder, chairman, and treasury of ALTSO, a.k.a. a leg to stand on. And when he's not busy there, he's also the founder and CEO of Octagon Asset Management. Mead, welcome back to the Options Insider Radio program.
Thank you, Mark. It's good to be back.
And Mead, I'm not sure if you noticed, but it's been a while since we chatted, about exactly a year. It's time for your annual appearance here on the network. It doesn't seem like it's been a year, by the way. It seemed like it was just a few months ago. And in some other ways, it seems like it's been an eternity because I'm not sure if you noticed, but the world's kind of fallen apart since the last time you and I chatted. Let's start there. Catch us up. How are you and the team? How have you guys all been doing and coping and functioning over the last 6 months and all this madness, Mead?
Well, it's definitely a different world today than it was a year ago, Mark. And I can't say whether it's better or worse, but it's certainly it's been a trying time. And I think people have experienced hardship, and they've experienced also some awakenings and realization that we do actually, we're very blessed in many ways. So, it's unfortunate, but sometimes these are healthy reality checks to put priorities in place and recognize that your health is, of paramount importance, and then family and, in my opinion, faith are really important. And we tend to forget those when life is clipping along at its typical pace and everything is going, well. And so sometimes these kind of hiccups are good reminders that we're human, and we have to enjoy our time together and do the right thing and spend time with family and friends and maintain our health. And so I kind of view it as a blessing in disguise.
That's a good way to view it because you're right. I mean, it's hard to say there's an upside for any sort of pandemic, which is killing hundreds of thousands of people. But if there are any bright spots to be found within that dark cloud, you're right. There are some more forced family time going on out there, which can be good. I guess can be bad depending on your family, but we're enjoying it here as well. A little bit of forced togetherness, I suppose, isn't the worst thing. But me, like I mentioned, this is our annual check-in with you guys over there at ALTSO. We've had a lot of new people join the network since the last time you guys were on. So why don't we start there, give our listeners an overview of what the heck is a leg to stand on? What do you guys do, Mead?
Sure. So a leg to stand on is a 501c3 registered nonprofit based in New York City. We started over 18 years ago, and our focus is solely to help children with limb disabilities in developing countries. So these are children that were either born with a missing limb or a deformity of the limbs, or they had an accident or a disease which left them with a deformity of the limbs. We provide free corrective surgery and artificial limbs and walking aids from the ages of birth until 21 years old.
Now, of course, this is obviously not the usual environment. This is normally where I would start talking about your big upcoming event, and they've been fantastic events. I've been privileged enough to attend several of the recent Chicago events. You guys put on great musical events with a lot of bands actually from the financial industry getting together to rock out and raise money for charity, and I've been privileged enough to go to a few of them. You, of course, have them in New York. I believe you started expanding to London and other venues as well. Obviously, that's all impossible these days, Mead. So a little bit of a difficult environment right now, I'd imagine, for you guys. So how are you guys proceeding on the ALTSO front in light of everything that's been going on, Mead?
Well, it's a good question, Mark. And yes, it may appear to be impossible to do it in person, which is a shame. But the beauty is that we have technology, and technology offers us solutions. So we're going to be holding our first ever virtual Rocktoberfest on October 22nd. At 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central Time. And we're really excited about it because this is really a whole new paradigm. But it allows for us to open up the event for really anyone. So it's completely inclusive so that anyone that wants to attend can register and attend free, which is different. As you know, there's always been a ticket price that you've had to pay to get in the door. This allows it to be watched by anyone that is interested in watching these amazing bands and learning more about this, what I think is a worthwhile cause. And, if they feel so compelled to support us in any way, shape, or form, we are very grateful and we welcome that. So it's we have 14 bands now committed and additional bands that want to get involved. So it's going to be a pretty interesting event. And we're very fortunate to have two organizations, After Party and Dramatic Health, are sponsoring the technology and the media for the event, so we can host this thing live online. But the other good thing is that if your schedule has a conflict, you can actually watch it at your leisure, because it'll be available for replay at any point in the next several months. So you can kind of watch it on demand. So that's we're really excited about that.
Yeah, that's certainly a fascinating new wrinkle to add to the mix, because you're right. It's a little bit more involved than just doing a Zoom call and the band all stands in the room in front of a webcam. You need a little bit better audio, a little bit better video if you want to produce something on the level that you guys have done in the past. So I'd imagine just from a back-end perspective, Mead, it's got to be a little bit more challenging.
It is, but we've got such an amazing team of volunteers and sponsors and supporters that they've been able to kind of stitch it all together and provide what we think will be a fairly high-quality event. Sound and video are critical, as you well know, given that this is your main lifeline here. But for those that don't know what Rocktoberfest is, I might spend a minute, if it's okay, and just sort of give a bit of an overview.
No, go for it, yeah.
So Rocktoberfest is our annual fundraiser for A Leg to Stand On. It's a fundraiser and helps us to generate awareness for what we do. It's a unique event in that it's made up of bands which are compiled of finance professionals, mostly in the hedge fund and the futures and the financial markets. And these financial gurus, let down their hair and take off their pinstripes and, don their guitars and basses and drumsticks and rock out sets of rock music to an audience of their peers. And it's a really fun opportunity to see hedge fund managers and finance professionals and executives up on stage performing live sets. And you'd be surprised, I'm sure, obviously, Mark, you've been at the event. I've seen you there and enjoyed watching bands with you, but it's the quality of music is pretty spectacular, given that these are daytime traders and finance professionals.
I've always been amazed. You had to kind of tell me these people were actually industry professionals. I thought you went out and just hired a bunch of bands for the event, Mead.
No, well, obviously we want to keep our costs down, and what's so nice is that all these band members are doing it out of goodwill, and they enjoy it, and it's an opportunity for them to get up on stage and showcase their musical talents, which are pretty impressive to say the least. We have this year again 14 acts are confirmed between Chicago, New York, London, and then we've got a number of acts as far away as Hawaii to Europe and elsewhere. So it's going to be a really neat thing to experience.
So instead of the various geographic events that were separated by, let's say, a few weeks to a month each, you're going to do one big mega event now, incorporating all of the different areas, all the different bands, all the different venues you used to target Mead.
That's right. It is the marquee showcase event of the year. We're not doing our London event. We're not doing Chicago. We're not doing New York. We're just doing a virtual. So, come all and enjoy it. And we welcome all feedback. And there are groups and sponsors that are holding watch parties where they're getting, with obviously COVID diplomacy exercise, they're going to be getting together and watching it on big screens and having cocktails and other enjoyable treats. And so it's a way to sort of celebrate the fact that despite all the adversity, despite all the challenges, we can still really have an impact and make people's lives materially better by giving them the freedom and the confidence, the self-esteem, the mobility, and the opportunity that comes with their having legs and arms that are functioning.
Now, obviously, you mentioned the challenges that are going on right now. This is obviously a challenging time for you guys to be out there in the fundraising environment because, one, people have fewer funds than perhaps they did a year ago for a variety of reasons that are obvious. And then B, there are also a number of other charitable endeavors out there that kind of have their hands out right now saying, hey, we need to help these different people. So people are, on the plus side, very charity-minded right now, but there are also a lot of other things pulling their attention. So how do you guys over there at ALTSO, how challenging has it been, Mead, for you guys to really stand out there and get noticed among a crowded field? How has that fundraising been going over the last year?
It's a very good question, Mark. At the beginning of this crisis in March, we were extremely concerned about our future because we don't retain money that we receive. We use it to pay for the treatments for our project partners in the various countries that we operate in, which is over 10 different countries. And we're helping thousands of children every year. So, we don't have a big nest egg to lean back on to keep the operations going when an event like this occurs. And as you well pointed out, that a lot of people have suffered through this because they've lost jobs or their employment situation has changed or their health has changed. And so they're not in a position to give the way they have in the past because the future also is very uncertain. So it's been an important time for us to look inward as a board of directors of the organization and as the management team to determine how we can make sure that we're sustainable through this. And fortunately, we've had a lot of wonderful supporters and sponsors. Like ICE came in as a sponsor of this year's virtual event, just like they've sponsored in the past. And we have a number of sponsors that have just been through this with us, and they're sticking by our sides. From back in the game therapy to BAML to CBOE, EDNF Man, Urex, and the names go on and on and on. Jones Lang LaSalle and Quanteam and Sandler Capital. It's just amazing to see these sponsors who see the importance of what this mission is and don't get caught up in the short term because they know that a small contribution, which for us appears to be small, can be a life-changing contribution for these children. And just to put that in context, we have the cost of providing a free artificial limb, let's say a below-the-knee prosthetic. We have that down to $250 per child. So, with a $250 spend, you're actually giving a child a leg. And they're able to walk, they're able to run, they're able to jump, they're able to play like the other children. They can go to school on their own without having to be taken to school. They can get an education, they can get a job. And more importantly, they have self-esteem because in many of these countries, they don't exercise the same social graces that we have been raised to observe here in the West. And so when a child walks by that has a disability or goes by with a disability, a lot of people stop and stare, and they're the source of focus, and that's very difficult for a child to be scrutinized so closely because of they're not like the other children. So to give them a leg or an arm and allow them to wear pants and not have anyone realize that they are missing a leg gives them the ability to be, and honestly, anonymous. And that's what a lot of these kids want to be. They don't want to be the source of negative attention. So it's really just an amazing thing, all for $250 for one limb.
I'm glad to hear that, because I know you guys have always run a very tight ship, very small team, trying to spend all the resources back towards the kids, which is, of course, the goal and very admirable as a charity. But also, as you pointed out, during these times, of course, can be problematic because you don't have the war chest to survive these sudden shocks to the system here. So I'm glad to hear that other sponsors have stepped up and the fight is ongoing. Speaking of that fight, you guys are out there carrying on day-to-day, Mead. I know a core mission of the charity is to go out there, have some team members go out there to the developed world, actually oversee the delivery and installation of all these limbs to other parts of the world. We don't have access to this technology, access to these types of advanced prosthetics. Obviously, that's a little bit challenging now as well. So how are you guys carrying out the core mission right now in regards to global lockdowns, global travel bans, and the fact that this pandemic has pretty much put a halt to everything?
That's a very good question, Mark. And of course, obviously, the travel restrictions and then the COVID concerns are make it really difficult, if not impossible, for us to do the annual visits to our project partners in 10 different countries. But the other gating factor has been that even though some of these countries have relaxed the stay-at-home requirements, the children that we treat and their families can't come in because they haven't had PPE to provide for them, which is a requirement under either local law or just under local health practices. And so, what we've worked on is raising some capital to be able to purchase and donate the PPE so that the prosthetic engineers, the surgeons, the doctors, the nurses, the administrative people helping to do the examinations and the fittings can be protected, and then the families and the children that come in for treatment can have the proper protection. So that's been a big push that we've undertaken, and people have been amazing about supporting that. And we're raising money to, again, pay for the PPE, but that allows us to be able to provide the services. So, and AJ Worko, our program director, who's typically on the road all year round, going from project partner to project partner, from India to Nepal to Cambodia and everywhere else under the sun, he's had to conduct a lot of this and a lot of the due diligence and sort of checks and spot checks online using video platforms like Zoom and FaceTime and other types of real-time video communication systems. So we've been able to get by, and it forces us to be lean and mean, and because we need to obviously conserve on spending during this period, as a lot of our donor base has been impacted significantly with the markets having collapsed. And the markets have bounced back, and we hope that will be sustained. But it's just been a real trying time, and we're just, again, grateful for all those partners, and we call them family members, that have stepped up and have even when they can't have a live event, they've actually said, we want to support your organization. And like a Wilshire Phoenix, who says during the year, not just for Rocktoberfest, we want to support you and give you commissions off of our trading on this day or for this period of time. And Belvedere and all these other organizations are just amazing institutions that have been there to help us when our needs have been the greatest this year. So we're just very thankful and very blessed.
Great to hear that the mission is still ongoing, even in these trying times. You mentioned some of the trouble in the markets there, Mead. You do have a day job. You're not all the time on ALTSO over there. You're also founder and CEO of Octagon Asset Management. These are certainly interesting times from an asset management perspective as well. So maybe catch our audience up. What do you guys trade over there at Octagon? And what have the last 6 months been like as we've seen just the various ups and downs of this pandemic, Mead?
Well, that's a very good question. Obviously, the markets have been extremely volatile, really across the board. We are somewhat unique in that we are a asset-based lender that provides credit or financing to trading companies who are exporting and importing products around the world. So we finance international trade as our core strategy. What has been unique, though, is historically we've been predominantly active in the bulk commodity world, financing grains and energy products and metals and minerals and other items. Since March, the number of requests for financing PPE, which is urgently needed in places like New York and elsewhere throughout the United States and Europe and Latin America, we have been inundated with calls with companies saying we've got masks coming out of China, we've got gloves coming out of Malaysia, we've got gowns coming out of Cambodia. Can you help us finance these items and get them delivered to the hospitals, get them delivered to the states and the first responders and corporations? So since March, almost 100% of our business has been catered to providing the financing in order to unlock and get these products from Asia or their origin to the United States to those that need it.
Oh, that's fascinating. I would never have assumed that. So it sounds like the charitable endeavors are spilling over into the day job as well, Mead. It's not just at night that you flip on the ALTSO cap. You're also doing some good work during the day, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be clear that it's not necessarily charitable. It is in a larger sense. I mean, we've got unfortunately, our investors require a return on their.
You have to pay the bills. I get
it. But it is allowing for the product to get to the need, whereas without the capital, things would be bound up. And we've had guys that have brought in masks and they've been stuck at the port of arrival in the United States. And they had no money. They ran out of money to pay the shipping company for the freight, and the shipping company would not release the masks without that. And so they're stuck at the port. And so our money comes in to help release that and get it to those that need the masks urgently. So it's that's just one example of many where we're helping small to medium-sized companies that are vendors to U.S. government agencies, to hospitals, to large corporations. And so it is very rewarding in that we're helping fight the COVID pandemic. At the same time, we're also providing a service to a lot of small to medium-sized veteran and minority-owned companies. And it's all kind of a very warm and fuzzy feeling because it's rewarding on all these levels. So,
isn't it fascinating what's become a commodity over the past year? I mean, if you had told me a year ago that there would be interest in masks as a commodity, I would have laughed at you, and most people would have as well. I said they're readily available from any number of different venues. And same thing at the beginning of the pandemic. Toilet paper, for a brief period, became more valuable than gold out there. So we're living in interesting times, Mead, to say the least.
We are indeed, but necessity is the mother of invention. So I think when you're forced to figure out how to get around a situation, it presents opportunities for those that are thinking outside the box and resourceful. So, I look at it as it's a very unfortunate set of circumstances. It is a healthy kind of eye opener and reminder of what should be priorities in our life. But it's I always love a challenge, and I like to find a way to solve for challenges. So this has been a good exercise in that regard.
Well, let's solve some challenges for those kids over that also. Hit the people one more time with the event, the date, how they register, and how they can participate, and just in general, beyond just the event, Mead, how they can support ALTSO throughout the year.
Sure. So the event is, again, it's a virtual Rocktoberfest on October 22nd. It's at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central. There are 14 bands and counting that have been signed up, and you can register for free at our website, which is the acronym for a leg to stand on, ALTSO.org/Rocktoberfest. So ALTSO.org/Rocktoberfest. And that will get you to the registration site. Again, it's free. If you can't make it at 7 p.m. Eastern or 6 p.m. Central on the 22nd, you can always register and watch it at your convenience on your schedule. So we welcome and encourage everybody to join. If you feel compelled to give, you can give in any number of ways. We're very grateful for any support, whether it's monetary, whether it's ideas, whether it's introductions, whether it's physical gifts of volunteering your time. We encourage you to reach out to us by email or by phone. Our phone number and our email address are located on the website, but it's info@altso.org. And our phone number is 212-683-8805. So we appreciate the time and the support, and we wish everybody well.
I can certainly testify, listeners. I've been to these events. They're high-quality events. Now you guys are getting access to them completely for free. So go check it out. You literally have no excuse now. And, of course, if you like what you hear, if you like what you see, you want to support the cause, feel free to dig in. I know these are troubled times for a lot of people out there. But if you can, as you heard Mead say, it doesn't cost much to help a kid have a limb for life, and that's really a fantastic thing. So you can find out more, of course, ALTSO, ALTSO, that's a leg to stand on.org. Give them a follow on the old Twitters as well, at a leg to stand on, all spelled out there, a leg to stand on. Well, Mead, great to hear from you. Glad to hear things are still rolling along at a leg to stand on. I'm looking forward to seeing the event coming up in October, sir.
Well, thank you, Mark. As always, I appreciate your support and wish you all the best. We hope to see you sometime soon when we get on the other side of this pandemic. But in the meantime, enjoy the show if you can make it, and all the best to you.
Thank you, Mead. I'll certainly check it out, and I hope you guys do as well. And, of course, if you like what you heard here today, Interview Tuesday isn't over, listeners. We'll be back in about an hour and a half with another great interview coming at you really soon. And, of course, there's content throughout the week on the rest of the network. We got Education Wednesday. We got the Option Block Monday and Thursday. Got TWIFO on Thursday. Volatility Views on Friday. All sorts of other great programs smattered throughout the week. So keep it right here. We'll keep you informed, engaged, maybe even slightly entertained in the world of options. We'll be back a little bit later today with another great interview here on Options Insider Radio.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.